I am Grady Collane with the CapeCod.com News Center for Sunday Journal, and joined today by two special guests for the Seaside LeMans. Do you mind just introducing yourselves for our listeners, starting with you, Sam?
Samantha Oliveira, and I'm the race director for Seaside LeMans.
Grady, good to see you. Matt Pitta, Director of Communication with the Davenport Companies Seaside LeMans.
All right, awesome. Thank you both for joining me for this conversation.
Sure.
It's great to have you in the studio today. All right, so we wanted to talk a little bit more about the beneficiaries, some of what's changed for this year. But first and foremost, just for those who might not be familiar, can one of you just give an overview of what the Seaside LeMans is?
Yeah, it's super exciting. So we're into the 22nd year now of this race. We call it the Seaside LeMans, the race for the Cape Cod community. This began with a race actually on Main Street in downtown Hyannis. I'll give you the quick background of how this all came about. So 22 plus years ago, the Davenport family, which underwrites the entire event, and started this event, they were coming back from a management team building exercise at the old F1 up off Cape. And as they were coming back from that event, they said, wow, we're having such an amazing time here. How can we leverage this event to do something great for the Cape Cod community? And literally in that ride back from F1 to the Cape, they hatched the idea of Seaside LeMans. So the very first year of Seaside LeMans, they actually raced on Main Street in Hyannis. They closed Main Street and North Street, and they set up an F1-like track, and we race in F1-style carts. And they raced on Main Street in Hyannis. It was amazing. They shut the whole road. I remember being there and covering it. So after that, it moved over to Mashpee Commons. And since then has become really one of the premier late summer, early fall, I like to say late summer events because it's still summer when we hold it this year on September 9th. And up until now, we're approaching the $9 million mark. So $9 million raised for nonprofit organizations all across Cape Cod over the past 22 years. And so we just look for a lot of support. We hope the community comes and visits and takes part in this event because dozens of organizations over the years have benefited from it, and this year a brand new set of beneficiaries as well. It is just a lot of fun. If you haven't ridden in one of these things, they're about 2 inches off the ground, and they do about 40 plus miles an hour. And you're on this track, you're in a full track, so you look like Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights, right? And if you're not first, you're last. And so it's just an amazing race, all for charity. And one thing that's really important we want everybody to remember and know is that every dollar that is donated through all the corporate sponsorships and through anybody who makes individual donations, 100% goes to all of those charities. 100% of the entire administrative cost of running this race is taken on by the Davenport family.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's very fascinating here about the history as well. It's hard to imagine it not being at the Mashpee Commons. I had no idea it started in Hyannis.
First year was Main Street in downtown Hyannis. Another part of that, too, which was emotional, if you will, Grady, was that it was in 2001. And it was scheduled for just a few days after 9/11. So there was conversation in the community and with the organization back then, should we even do this? And the decision was made. In fact, we have to do it because this event is going to be important to bring the community together after what had happened just a few days prior. So that's the beginning. And then from there on over to Mashpee Commons, which has been an amazing partner for 21 years now plus. And we take over a whole segment of their parking lot and we build this F1 race. It's going to be amazing this year.
That is great to hear. So, as what you mentioned, some of the beneficiaries and how much money has been raised. Do you guys just mind mentioning some of the beneficiaries who's going to be recipients this year?
Yep, this year's beneficiaries, there's 5. It's going to be the Alzheimer's Family Support Center, and their main focus this year is going to be enhancing services for the families in need that go to their different locations. Then we have Cape Cod Healthcare, and they are going to be focused on their cancer patient navigator system, which is kind of for the families of people who were just diagnosed. So they will be putting all their funds towards that. Then we have the Cape Cod Tech Foundation, and they are supporting Cape Cod's future workforce, which is super important, as we all know, down here for sure. Then there's the Penakees Island School, which is one that kind of, I hope, gets a lot more recognition from this race so that people kind of know what they're about. A lot of people are not familiar with the Penakees Island School, and they are expanding access and accessibility to the island so that more people can go there and experience the island for all the glory that it is. So, and then the last one is Sharing Kindness, and they are improving youth and young adult mental health in the community, which is also super important. All of them super important initiatives this year, and those are the 5 that are chosen for this year, and we've helped over 55 organizations on the Cape since the start of the race.
Mm-hmm. That is awesome. Great to hear. Can you talk a little bit more about how you guys choose these organizations each year?
Yep. So we have an entire team of people that are made up from different employees at the Davenport Company, and it's the Charitable Giving Committee, and they start getting together in January-ish, December, January, and they kind of start with everyone who's applied. They go through different organizations across the Cape, and they start a series of interviews with the different nonprofits, and they just pick and choose from there, and it's a group activity every year, and the members of the Charitable Giving Committee change out each year. You kind of have a term for a few years, and then your term is over, so the group is ever changing all the time.
Very interesting. So what is some of the preparation? You already kind of just touched on it now, but it's a whole year in between, but that's a very busy year, it seems like. What goes into it?
Yes, definitely. There's things all year round. As soon as the race is over, we'll go into the people applying for next year already. So as soon as the race day happens, you can apply to be a beneficiary for the following year. We hand out things for after the race, identical trophies if there's more than one winner in a category, because the carts are made up of teams of like different businesses, so there could be more than one of them. There's plaques to be handed out, all kinds of stuff to the people who raced the previous year, and then around January, February-ish, we start with the kickoff for the following year. So then right from there, we jump right into the next year and start all the planning all over again.
Mm-hmm. Now, have either of you ever raced in this event yourself, or do you mind talking a little bit more about your experience?
So, yeah, you haven't raced, have you?
I have not raced.
Yeah.
I only raced at the practice facility, and that was enough for me.
Oh, yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. So,
The practice facility.
Yes.
Okay, I have a lot to go over.
So I raced in it. So years ago, when this race first started, when I was here, sitting on the other side of the desk over there.
We'll swap halfway through. And then
Exactly. So there was a media race, and so what we did is that the family put together several media organizations, including those of us here at the time at Cape Cod Broadcasting, CCB Media, Cape Cod Times, some of the other radio groups as well, and we had a race, a media race, and we got to race against each other. So I was in that, and then Cape Cod Healthcare was also involved in it at that point. So I was in the race, and there's a photo somewhere in this building of me in this. I was fully decked out in my Ricky Bobby suit, and I to this day have been blamed for us losing because and I still dispute this to this day. I was given a penalty on one of the turns because I may have slightly nudged another cart going around the turn. Allegedly. There's no evidence that I've ever seen of it. And so I was given a penalty. And when you're given a penalty, we do safety is number one for this race. Mm-hmm. So I was given a penalty, and I was forced to go into the timeout area. And so I, to this day, have been blamed for the CCB team losing that race. Mm-hmm. But it was an amazing time. Those carts, again, it's not a go-kart. It's not an F1 kart. It's an F1 style kart. It's basically in between a go-kart and a real F1 kart. Mm-hmm. So you're about 2 inches off the ground, doing about 40 miles an hour on this track. You're whipping around that track, and it's so much fun. And if you haven't done it yet, it's great. Samantha, those of us within the company, we went up to a facility up near Gillette recently, and to kind of do some practice runs just to see, how all of us were doing. So it got kind of aggressive, and so Samantha was in a cart, and she kept getting in my way. So I think
I got in everyone's way. Apparently, I shouldn't
side,
do that.
right?
Yes, I was very much pushed to the side, and I just watched everyone fly by me and wave at me as they went by.
She was slowing us down, so,
Only as strong as your weakest link in the chain. It is. Exactly. But that's what the practice is. No, we tease here on Sunday Journal on occasion. No hard feelings. I have seen the photo, I'm afraid, and we will have to dig it out and put it up on CapeCod.com as part of this coverage.
Definitely.
But thank you both for sharing. I mean, it's so interesting as well. I'm going to be a little nerd for a moment here, but do you know what kind of horsepower or CCs we're dealing with on some of these cars?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Sure.
I don't know if we have that with us in front of us, but they're pretty powerful cars. To get that kind of car up to 40 miles an hour on that track, they're pretty good. So, they're just so much fun. And, so people, for many years, I remember when covering it, and people say, well, I want to race. How can I race? And, we do rely on some significant corporate donations. We have a lot of great corporate partners that are involved in this race with us. But, the individual wants to race every now and then. They say, well, ask your company to become a corporate sponsor or something like that. So this year, as we sat around in the planning stages, we were trying to figure out, well, how can the individual get involved in this? We came up with this concept called the Drive to Win, and the first time ever, and it's been a lot of excitement about it. So what we did is that for a $50 tax-deductible donation, you could buy a chance to race in the Seaside LeMans. Now, we're going to announce the winner soon, and that person is going to get a full cart seat, which is valued over $2,000. So for that $50 donation, somebody is going to race all day in Seaside LeMans. Now, what's great is that we've decided that Drive to Win is going to be a great thing to go all year long. So after we finish with the race, we'll reintroduce Drive to Win and offer people throughout the year chances to buy in and to race next year in 2024. And what's important, and we mentioned this before, I just think it's always important when you're talking about charitable organizations that every dollar that you donate, so if you decide to buy a $50 ticket for the Drive to Win, all $50 are going to the charities that Sam mentioned. There is zero administrative cost, and a lot of people always ask that. If I'm going to donate money to any type of charity, how much of my money is actually going to the actual charity? 100%. And I think that's a really important message we try to get across to people all the time.
It really is, and all of the funds filter through the Cape Cod Foundation, who's a great partner with us, and they, help us distribute all of the money every year, and they take in all of the money from all of the sponsors and the Drive to Win, and they're a huge partner with us to get all of that done.
That is very interesting. It's great to know as well. So actually a little bit more about the individual driving as well. Are they part of a team, or is it just for their own fun, their own benefit, or how does it kind of work for related to the rest of the competition?
So the person who's going to win the Drive to Win, they'll be placed with one of our existing teams, and they'll get to drive all day long, and it's going to be exciting. 4 hours on that track, and we swap people in and out because nobody could drive nonstop for 4 hours, and you get rotated in and out. So they're going to get they will be placed with one of the existing teams.
Wow.
Each cart holds 6 drivers. So if you have a full cart sponsorship, you have 6 drivers in the race yourself. We have some half cart sponsors, so they would have 3 drivers in. So we put the 2 halves together to create a whole. And then we have some individual drivers as well. So we put them together into teams. So
that's very interesting. So as well, you mentioned this already, but some of the we've been seeing a push by the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, especially, and some other organizations for this idea of the second summer, highlighting that shoulder season for the Cape and Islands region. It sounds like you guys are a little bit ahead of the curve with the September pick, but can you talk a little bit more about how this impacts maybe local commerce, local community culture?
So I think it's a great point to bring up. So this is after Labor Day, obviously. It takes place on September 9th. And, for years, the Cape as a region, as you said, has been trying to make sure that people don't just think that you can only come here between Memorial Day and Labor Day. In fact, people like myself, and I know many others, we think September is our best weather month sometimes. Maybe you're the same way, Grady. So, once you get past Labor Day, the crowds thin out just a little bit, but the weather stays spectacular. You can get to the beach a little bit easier. The water is still warm in early September. So this is a great event to actually plan your trip around and we do have people that as part of their September vacation will come down and visit us. It is a great economic driver because over the course of the day, thousands and thousands of people will come into Mashpee Commons. Mashpee Commons is obviously a very important part of the economic engine for Mashpee and all of the Upper Cape. So people will come in there, they'll shop, they'll dine at the many restaurants, they'll spend time, and so it is a very important part, and we hope helps out that local economy as well, as it is held right after Labor Day and really right at the start of the second summer here on Cape Cod.
Now, it's very interesting. We are kind of coming off of the COVID-19 pandemic. It's a little bit behind us now. I'm no expert who can say that it's going to disappear suddenly overnight, unfortunately. I wish I could snap my fingers, make it all go away. But it's a big event. We're a little bit further into it now. I know you guys shifted for a lot of safety. But just can you talk a little bit more about how these events are a bit different now, how you're focusing on safety in general for drivers, and a little bit of how things might have changed for this year, even just for the better in terms of new initiatives, new programs?
Yeah, so first of all, safety is paramount when it comes to this race from the beginning. So we don't just put drivers on the track and say, go have a good time. There are actually events and evenings of meetings that lead up to this. We have a driver's dinner, in fact, prior to the actual race where we actually spend time telling the drivers how to drive, basically. Here's what you need to know about how these carts operate. We actually show them the track. We walk them through what it's going to look like. Then, day of, before the competition starts, drivers are put out onto the track for practice laps so they can get a feel for the vehicle. And again, having been in that car before, if you've never sat in it and you jump into that and you take off, you're going to be like, whoa, this thing's taking off on me. So there's a tremendous safety feature to that. During COVID, unfortunately, the race didn't take place during that first COVID summer. We were able to still keep awareness going about it. But since then, what has happened is since COVID, people are looking to do these events. They want to get back out. They want to spend time with their friends and family. So it's worked out really well. It's a great time there in Mashpee Commons, and it's a great location. People can wander around in the infield and the outfield. We have a bridge that goes over the track. So inside, Sam, we have a lot of things for children and families this year.
This year we have in the family zone, we have a balloon artist coming for the first time. We have a glitter tattoo from the Glitter Witches. We have a custom coloring wall for the kids to come and color. We have a treasure chest full of prizes for the kids to win. We might have an inflatable skee ball that's going to go up. There's all kinds of things for the family to do in the infield. And then you can also go visit all of the beneficiaries and find out a little bit more about their organizations and what they're all about and how you can become a part of them. And then on the outside of the track, we have the Army National Guard that comes, and they bring a bunch of stuff for the whole family to do. They bring their pull-up bar, they bring a gaming truck, all sorts of things for the whole family to take part in. So there's definitely lots of activities for everyone to do, along with cheering on all of the drivers, and it's a great family activity for the day.
That is great to hear. Something for the whole family. As well, you mentioned that some of the beneficiaries will be there. Is this an opportunity for outreach if you're a local business or organization?
Yeah, so every single one of the beneficiaries will be on site that day, the 5 of this year. And so they'll all have a table set up in the infield, so you'll be able to spend some time talking to them. And then we also have a pit stop shop set up, so you can buy all of your Seaside LeMans gear. And again, same thing with all of the money raised in the pit stop shop goes directly back to the beneficiaries that are part of this year's race.
We've got a lot of great new items in the pit stop shop with logo wear, and it's going to make me sound old, but apparently trucker hats are popular now, right? The trucker baseball
They're
hats.
back.
So we have some great new items that people can buy: trucker hats, traditional baseball caps, towels.
We have some beach
shirts.
towels. We have some wine tumblers,
Right.
all kinds of great stuff that I think people are really going to like this year.
And all of that money goes to the charities as well. So the pit stop shop takes place in the middle of the infield where you can come in, buy some merchandise. What's great, again, all of it is going right to the charities, the 5 that Sam mentioned earlier.
And we also have the Sandwich Rotary that sets up, and they sell food right in the infield. So once you're in the infield, you can grab a hamburger, hot dog, peruse the infield, do some of the activities, and hang out. The National Guard will also be in the infield with us for a little bit this year. So there's going to be lots of stuff for you to come down and do.
That is awesome, Matt. I am afraid I am going to have to get one of those trucker hats at some point for the next time we're on. All right. Well, thank you so much for having this conversation. We really appreciate it. We're about coming up on time now, but is there anything else you want to highlight for our listeners while we still have you?
I think just that it's free to come down for the day, and so bring the family, bring your friends, hang out, come for the whole race, come for a part of the race. I always tell people if you want to get there for the racing part of it, which is kind of the most exciting part, you should definitely be there by 3 p.m., and then the awards happen around like 3:45. So it's a great thing to come and watch.
All right. Awesome.
A lot of fun.
Thank you both for joining me for this conversation.
Our
It's been
pleasure.
fantastic.
Thanks for having us.
I'm Grady Cullen in the CapeCod.com News Center, and this has been Sunday Journal.